Vampires. Immortal, seductive, and occasionally sparkly. They've been aristocrats, punks, superheroes, and yes, even high schoolers who shine. But before Hollywood gave them cheekbones and charm, vampires were nothing more than swollen, stinking corpses being blamed for plagues. So, this week, let's dig into the true origins of vampires. The vampire is ancient. Older than Dracula, older than castles, even older than the word itself. Across civilizations, people feared one thing: the dead refusing to stay dead. In Mesopotamia, Lamashtu is a spirit who feeds on blood and breath. In Greece, the Lamia and Empusa were spirits who took the forms of women to drain life from lovers. In India, the Vatala are spirits who were seen hanging upside down in cemeteries. And in China, the Jiangshi are hopping corpses that steal life energy. So, 4 continents with 4 different undead life energy thieves. Humanity is divided by language, but united by the fear of being devoured. Now, let's jump to Eastern Europe in the 1600s. Reports spread of villagers dying mysteriously, and then worse, rising again. This is actually when the word vampire slinks into record, but these weren't elegant counts or anything like that, no. In fact, they were just ordinary peasants with extraordinary bloat. The bodies were fresh with flushed skin and swollen stomachs. Now, scientifically speaking, it was gases from decomposition. However, fueled by hysteria, the villagers believed they were feeding on the living and spreading disease. So, their solution? DIY monster control. Stakes through the chest, heads removed, mouths filled with bricks, and cages over graves. A disgusting and disrespectful practice deemed necessary. So when plague or tuberculosis hit, they blamed the first to die, the vampire of the family. So the aunt coughs and somehow grandpa gets dug up and staked. Yikes. Early medicine, everybody. Even centuries later in 1892, Rhode Island, locals exhumed Mercy Brown thinking she drained relatives from the grave. The real culprit again, of course, was disease, but fear spreads faster than facts. The vampire was humanity's way of giving shape to disease. They believed if they could stab it, they could stop it. Then came the writers, people who looked at mass hysteria and wondered how they could make it more sexy. In 1819, John Polidori's The Vampire, the first aristocratic blood drinker. In 1872, Le Fanu's Carmilla, sensual and subversive. And in 1897, Bram Stoker's Dracula, the blueprint. Stoker's count was part predator, part metaphor. Disease, immigration, and forbidden desire all rolled into one flowing cape. However, Dracula borrowed the name from a real person, Vlad the Impaler, whose father was called Dracul, meaning dragon or devil in Romanian. Being his son, he took the name Dracula, and he enjoyed creative landscaping with, well, impaled people.
Millions of them.
Maybe not millions, but more like thousands, but definitely not exactly Team Edward material. Once film got its fangs, vampires went global. Nosferatu in 1922 was rat-like, plague-ridden, and nightmare fuel. Then Dracula in 1931, enter Bela Lugosi, silk cape, hypnotic accent. Suddenly the monsters had manners. In the 1970s, vampire lovers, technicolor and scandalous. In 1987, The Lost Boys, vampires with mullets and attitude. In 1994, Interview with the Vampire, existential immortals and candlelight. In 1998, Blade, trench coats, techno beats, and sword fights. And in 2008, Twilight, sparkles, cars, and emotional damage. By the 2000s, the vampire was a monster no longer. It became somewhat of a mood. We turned fear of the grave into vanity. And honestly, that's impressive. Respect. Interestingly enough though, the myth still feeds. There are modern real-world quote-unquote vampire communities, however they're just people who may or may not sip donated blood or claim to feed on energy. They're surprisingly organized and mostly harmless. Unless you cut their Wi-Fi. Maybe the vampire endures because it's never just about drinking blood. In the Plague Years, it symbolized disease. In the Victorian era, taboo desire. Now, it's loneliness, power, and a wish to never age in a world obsessed with youth. Every generation remakes the vampire in its own image, from bloated corpses to tragic poets to beautiful men and women. Maybe it's not that the vampire lives forever, or rather it's that we refuse to let them die. If you enjoyed this bite into vampire history, like and subscribe so the algorithm keeps its steak away from my heart. Also, drop your favorite vampire movie, comic, anime, or game in the comments. I promise I won't judge much. I'm kidding. I'll even go first. Personally, I enjoy the hyper-aggressive vampires like in 30 Days of Night and the tragic vampiric system in Baldur's Gate 3. I'm Josiah with Paranormish, and once again, it's been such a pleasure unearthing lore for you. Please look forward to what's next. It might be a curse, or maybe a myth, or maybe a monster. And with that, I'll leave you with a small tip as usual. Remember, immortality sounds fun until you realize that you'll have to watch everyone you love become yesterday. Resist the call of the night and stay curious.